Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be considering different distance optics for your rifle. Okay, so we're going to be looking at, we're going to start with the red dots over here. We got the big window Holosun 510C. Then we got this tubular Holosun 503G, which has the ACSS. Then I got two optics here from Primary Arms. One is this one over here is a second focal plane. This one's a first focal plane. So I'm going to go through a couple of things with you guys, and then you can hopefully it'll help you make a decision on what might be the best choice for which application. Because under different circumstances, you're going to need different things. So that's the reason why I got lots of guns. Okay, and I set them up, differently, because a lot of these guns are the same. They just got different optics on them. Okay, so. For most of your self-defense, home defense, CQB type of situation, you're probably going to want this open reflex. Okay, so this is the Holosun 510C. The benefits of the open reflex is it's really easy to find and get on target, right? So you can see how I was, even because remember, I'm just looking at this from behind. I'm looking at this from behind the camera now, and still just being behind the camera, I can get on target pretty, find that reticle pretty quickly, right? Because I have the benefit of a big window. Now I'm not able to easily place my camera in the center. That's why that reticle is sitting way at the top there. And yet, even though I'm completely off, if I can get that reticle on target, I can hit it. So even with the reticle in that position over there, I would be able to hit those targets that you see out there. Okay, so this is going to be the best choice for most people, for most situations, because and we can do is we can just put on the the magnifier in the back, and that's going to give us a distance shooting capability. Okay, let's try to get this guy into focus. Okay, there you go. All right, so now when we're shooting at distance, okay, we're concerned with our range, right, and our holdovers, right, because bullets drop as they go further out. So we need to know what distance our target's going to be at, and we need to know what what our holdover the target is. So the zero that I usually use is a 50-yard zero, which gives me a second zero at 200 yards. Which means from 0 all the way out to 250 yards, I can just put the dot on the target, and I'm going to be either 4 inches high or 4 inches low. So that's easy. Now, once you get past once you get up to 300 yards, then you really have to concern yourself with making sure that you know what your range is, right? You know what the distance is, and that you know what your holdover is going to be. So with this optic over here, right, basically we're going to be seeing a reticle that looks like this, okay? So we can use this reticle over here to do our range estimation and our bullet drop. And I did a video that went into this in details. I'm just going to go through this really quickly, but look up a video called 65 MOA Circle Holdovers in my channel name, and you should be able to find it. So you got the 2 MOA dot here, you got the 65 MOA circle around it. So at distance, right, when we're looking through here, we can basically use the height of a man, right, the average man being about 5'10", to figure out what the distance is, and we can, based on after that, we can figure out where we're going to put this dot in order to hit the target. So at 100 yards, right, my man, right, so you got the second circle here, is basically going to stand from the top of the circle to the bottom of the circle. Okay, so up here he's going to be from there to there. So that's at 100 yards. At 200 yards, you're going to cut that in half. So my man's head is going to come up to the dot. His legs are going to come to the bottom. At 300 yards, he's going to drop a little bit lower. So he's going to go from there to there. At 400 yards, he's going to go from there to there. At 500 yards, he's going to be like way down here at the bottom. And with, if this is what you expect to be using, right, what you would do is just basically cut out a man-sized target, right, out of like a large cardboard box. And, that's about 6 foot tall. And take it down range, put it at different distances, and get used to seeing that in your reticle so that you can instantly know that, hey, if my target is from here to there, you immediately know you're at 300 yards, okay? Or if it's from here to there, right, you immediately know that, if your 6 foot target is from here to here, you immediately know you're at 500 yards. So you want to get comfortable with that. And then the holdovers are, right, from 0 to 200, you just put your dot center mass. At 300 yards, right, down here, at 300 yards, I'd be putting the dot right over his face. At 400 yards, I'd be putting the dot right over his head. And at 500 yards, what I would do is cut the man in half and take that distance and hold that over his head, okay? So that's how we get out to 500 yards. Now at 400 yards and 500 yards, you're primarily doing suppression fire, right? You're not really expecting to get precise hits. If we need precise hits at that distance, at 400 and 500 yards, then I would recommend moving up to this reticle over here, right? So this is the Holosun 503G. Okay, so this has the ACSS reticle, which is basically a built-in bullet drop compensator. Let's see if I can get this guy in focus here. If he'll cooperate. See if I can turn the camera a little bit so you guys can see it. Let's try to get into the ground. There it is. Okay, I had to put it in the ground so you can. So there's some features in there that you're not going to see, right? You're not going to see the fine features until I flip the magnifier on. You're not seeing the fine features now just because it's out of focus. Let's see if I put it into the table if you can see it. See, you can see it there? Oh, this thing's just supposed to be completely uncooperative. Yeah, I had it for a second there. Well, anyway, if you flip the magnifier over, then you see some of the fine features. Okay, so I can get this guy to focus a little bit. See if I put it in the dirt, in the ground where you see it. So you see the chevron, and you see the 3 dots underneath it. There it is. You can see the details a lot better. And there it is. Okay, so and the nice thing about these two systems here is that if you're not going to be shooting at distance or it's night, you just quickly take the magnifiers off, and then you have a much lighter optic. Okay, but if you're going to be at distance, if you expect to be shooting at distance, you would flip this, put it on, flip it over. All right, so with this is what we're seeing over here. So again, we got a 65 MOA circle. So basically we can do the same thing kind of that we were doing here, with the exception that we got this broken circle down here, which is the only thing I don't like about the horseshoe. I wish this actually was a complete circle. The problem with the broken horseshoe is that I can't put my man's feet at the bottom of this because I don't know where the bottom is. So what that forces me to do is to start from the tip over here. So I have this other reticle on the side over here. So basically at 400 yards, well, again, first of all, let me say this. We're using a 50-yard zero, so we got the 5,200-yard zero. The way this works, 50-yard zero there, 5,200 there. The 300 yards would be inside the inside of the arrow over here. That's 400, 500, 600. Okay. Now, as far as knowing what your distance is, at 400 yards, your man's shoulder is going to come up from his feet are going to go there. His neck is going to be there. At 500 yards, the top of his head is going to go to the inside of the arrow. And at 600 yards, the top of his head is going to come up to the legs. Okay. So we would use this to range estimate. All right, and then what we would do is basically we put the dots. So like at 400 yards, I would just put that dot center mass. At 500 yards, you put that dot center mass. 600 yards, you put that dot center mass. Using this reticle with these fine features, I've been able to at 300 yards, I've been able to get a 3 1/4 inch group with this gun over here. Now, on the same day, using the same ammunition. Basically on the same gun, I was only able to get about 15 inches with using this optic. And the reason is because over here I'm using a 2 MOA dot, okay, right? Whereas over here, I have finer aiming points, okay? So that helps me get on target. So that's why I was able to get the tighter group using this optic. However, the drawback of this is at CQB distances, you're looking through a thinner tube. okay? Whereas here in CQB distances, you've got the benefit of the larger window. All right. So we have to kind of specialize. We have to decide, do we want to optimize for CQB distance, or do we want to optimize for a little further out? Okay. So this will get us out to 600 yards, right? And I also did another video where I'm shooting this gun over here with the ACSS. I'm shooting it at 400 yards and 500 yards. So you can just search ace, what is this? The 503G ACSS at 400 yards and 500 yards with my channel name, and the video should pop up. And I believe I was able to get like 15-inch groups at 500 yards. So the gun shot very well using, I was able to use this optic with the magnifier to get out, to get on a man-sized target at 500 yards. So with this setup over here, I'm basically doing suppression fire at 500 yards, right? Using that. Whereas with this one, I'm actually able to put accurate fire at 500 yards because of this reticle design over here. Now, I was also using the 6x magnifier. So again, nice thing here is that with the you can change magnifiers, right? So that's the Holosun 3x magnifier. This is a Vortex 6x magnifier. So if you're going to be in the woods, you're probably going to want to use the 3x. If you're going to be out in the desert or an open area, you're going to want to use the 6x. Okay, so you have that flexibility, and you also have the flexibility that you can completely take this off and just lighten up the gun. So at night, I wouldn't want this on here at all. I would just take it off and just go, just run with the optic itself. So now over here, we got the variable scopes, right? There's a variable 1 to 10 second focal plane, a variable 1 to 8 first focal plane. So as we go from here to here, right, we're basically committing ourselves to 1.5 pounds over here, because this is a single unit over here. I don't have the benefit of being able to, to lighten it up over here. I can just take off the magnifier. So I'm stuck with 1.5 pounds over here. And if I'm going to be doing that, I need to get some additional benefits. So with these two setups over here, I already have the benefit. I'm already able to do my range estimation off of a man, right? Because in both these cases, we're talking about using men, right? So I'm able to do my range estimation off the height of a man. And I'm also able to do my bullet drop compensation. So if I'm going to go to 1.5 pounds here, I want something more, right? I want something more than just being able to do the things that I could do with that. Okay, so let me make a little bit of space here. So the thing that I'm looking for over here is I want a reticle system, right, that allows me to range estimate off of other things besides just men. Okay, so because there's going to be other things out there, right? So with something like this that has a mil grid, because over here I have these lines over here that allow me to range estimate a man. I can do the full height, right? So if a man is standing from here, from feet here, head here, that's 300 yards, or I can range estimate the half man from the waist to the head. All right, that's 300 yards. From here to there, that's 400 yards. There, no, sorry, that's the 600. No, that's 400 yards, and that's the 500 yards. So I'm able to range estimate off a man, but I'm also able to use this grid over here to range estimate off of something else, like let's say a truck. Okay, so all tractor trailers are about 75 feet long. Okay, so there's basically a calculation that I do. You take the 75 feet, multiply by inches, divided by or multiply by the conversion factor 27.77, and then divide that by the number of mils that you're reading. So, if a tractor trailer, right, is 30 mils, because it's from here to there, it's 30 mils, right? It's 30 mils long. I know that my tractor trailer is at 833 feet. Now, this particular scope here, because it's second focal plane, it's limited to only 30 mils going across, right? So, first of all, let's talk about the second focal plane. All right, this is what you're seeing in the scope. All right, so that's in 1 power. Trying to get a focus there. So if that's in 1 power. If I zoom up to 10 power, which I just did, Get you back into focus. There it is. So I'm zoomed in. So the reticle itself didn't change. So the amount of information that's in the reticle stays the same in all magnifications, which means that that information is only going to be accurate in the max magnification. Okay, so get you back into focus here. So when I'm in 1 power over here, right, the only thing that's accurate on this is basically the tip and the horseshoe. That's the only thing that's accurate. So basically, that's kind of functioning just like a red dot. All that other information that's in there, at best, it can kind of help guide you to the center. Okay, but it offers no additional help. So in a manner of speaking, all that extra information that's in there, you can actually see it better when it's in the shadow. All that extra information that's in there, it's basically just excess information that doesn't mean anything, except maybe it's kind of guiding you to the center. But again, what the additional benefit of this scope over here is that I'm able to range estimate off of other things besides a man. I can use a tractor trailer. In fact, using the height works a little bit better on this type of a scope because the width I'm limited to only 30 mils, but the height I've got 15 mils going over here, and basically the tractor trailer is 13.5 feet tall. So I'm able to calculate that at 300 yards, my tractor trailer is going to measure 15 mils tall. At 450 yards, my tractor trailer is going to measure 10 mils tall. And at 650 yards, my tractor trailer is going to measure 7 mils tall. So, and you could use, let's say, a door. Most doors are about 80 inches, 80 inches tall. So you can use a door. So this is the benefit that I'm getting out of this extra 1.5 pounds, and basically 10 inches of scope length that I got here. I'm able to range estimate other things, and also it's a little easier to do my wind holds. Okay, now the way I would do my wind holds here, I basically if I've got a 10-mile-per-hour wind at 300 yards, that's a 0.5 mil hold. At 500 yards, it's a 1 mil hold, right? And at that's for a full value going sideways. And at 700 yards, it's a 1.5 mil hold. Okay, and basically at 20 miles, if the wind is 20 miles per hour, you would double it. And I've done other videos on how you can measure the wind using ribbons and wind flags and stuff like that. So that's the benefit. If we're gonna move to a variable scope, right? That's one of the main things I wanted to get out of this video. And communicate to you guys. If you're going to commit to an extra 1.5 pounds, you want to get more than just magnification and range estimation and bullet drop compensation, because you can get that out of these setups over here, which are a lot lighter. And again, you can take off the magnifier and just lighten up the gun completely. Okay. Let me go over to this scope over here. Now, this is the first focal plane, okay? This is the Primary Arms M8. So this is a $1,500 scope versus this one over here, which is the $500 one. This is the SLX 1-10 by 28. Now, $500, I think this is probably going to be the best scope option for most people, because you're able to do all those other things, right? Range estimate other things besides people, trucks and airplanes, anything that you know the height of, doors, a building that you know the height of. You can range estimate other things, but you're kind of limited because you can only go 30 mils across, 15, 15 up over here, 30 across. This scope over here allows us 100 mils. Actually, 100 mils from there to there, so it's a total of 200 mils side to side. So with this, I can range estimate off of much bigger things, and the bigger the thing I'm using to range estimate, the more accurate I'm going to be. So here's the thing with this scope. If I'm in 1 power, right, I see this, right, and the idea with this scope is that in 1 power, I don't need to know the details, right? Everything's up close. Basically, I'm using the horseshoe here in the center as a dot. I'm putting on target, pulling the trigger. These posts here are meant to kind of guide you to the center. Although I find that these out here, the outer posts, are a little too far out. I usually use the posts that are more towards the center over here to guide me to the center. But when you zoom in, this is what you see. Okay, so the benefit of a first focal plane scope, right? Right, because there's lots. I've had first focal plane scopes where it's like when you zoom in, you see you see the details, but when you zoom out, you don't have any useful information. It's hard to get on target. So a good first focal plane scope is going to give you useful information when you're zoomed in and when you're zoomed out, and it's going to be two completely different pieces of information, because when I'm zoomed in, I need to see this, right? When I'm zoomed out, I need to see that. So let me show you guys, let me get behind the glass and show you guys what this is going to look like. So again, we got a pound and a half on top of the rifle here. I want to be able to get some useful information besides just magnification and bullet drop, okay? So try to get the right eye relief with this thing. Again, I'm looking at it through the camera, so there it is. A little further out. Oh, almost had it. Yeah. Okay. So as you can see, you really don't see the details. You can't see the details when you're zoomed out. Those lines are basically just meant to guide you to the center as quickly as possible. Okay, and you really don't want to see the details, because in CQB distance, I mean, that's, you don't need to do range estimation, you don't need to do bullet drop compensation. So that's if you're going to go with the first focal plane scope, that's what you want to get out of it. You want it, the first focal plane doesn't give you more information, it gives you less, because basically it gets rid of the information that you don't need to see. Try to use two hands to get. I know I had it there for a second. There it is. All right, let me zoom. So as I zoom in, there you go. So all of a sudden, all that information that you were seeing on the outer edges has disappeared. Looks like a colonoscopy over here. Trying to get the right eye relief. Again, I'm looking at this through a camera, so further out. There it is. All right, so let's go to the paper. So when you get in close, okay, so when you get in close, basically you're focusing in on this area right over here. So this is basically a zoom in of what's over here. Okay, so this information was there, it's just that you couldn't see it until you zoomed in. And the stuff that was on the outer edges over here has now basically just gone out of your zoom. So this one over here, this is the M8 Raptor. Okay, so again, it gives us the we can range estimate off the height of a man really quickly and easy. So at let's say at 300 yards, a man, his feet are going to stand there, his head's going to go all the way up to there. But if we can only see him from the waist up, which is very common, because sometimes people are behind cars or vehicles or sitting or whatever, it'll be from there to there, right? So if he's at, let's say, 700 yards, right, his waist will be from there to there, okay? So this is really quick for using a man, but because we got a mill grid over here, right, we can range estimate, let's say, the height of a truck, all right? So again, I got, let's say, a tractor trailer, 13 and a half feet tall at 500 yards, is going to be 9 mils tall, and it will be 50 mils wide. So the nice thing about this is, because these are all measurements out there, I have a total of 100 from here to there. Okay, so basically I got 200 going across here, 200 going across there. So this optic allows me the ability to range estimate large things like tractor trailers, because I've got like a total of 200 mils going going vertically and horizontally. Whereas, let's say with this one over here with the second focal plane, you know, I only got 30, and they really can't fit any more in there. It's hard because, again, the reticle has to stay the same size because it doesn't change. On this one over here, because the reticle size changes, they can fit more information in there and then basically have it zoom out of your picture as you come in. Okay, so that's the real benefit of the first focal plane. If you're not getting this, then there's no point to having first focal plane. If you have a very simple reticle that doesn't give you all that information, then you might as well just stick with a second focal plane, which is cheaper. Okay. So the nice thing about the Raptor is it basically gives you the wind holds over here, right? So basically, if you're at what is it? That's at 600 yards over here, you know, so that's your 5 mile per hour wind, 10, 15, and 20. Okay. Now on the mill grid, it basically, I didn't have. Now they also make the second focal planes that give you just the wind holds. However, I found that I had to kind of choose, right? I had to choose with, do I want a mill grid, or do I want something that has wind holds only? And what I found is if I have something that just gives me wind holds, I wasn't able to do my range estimation, right? Whereas if I have a mill grid, I have the benefit of being able to do both the range estimation, and I can also, you know, commit to memory the wind holds. So the mill grid allows me the ability to do both. Okay, on this one over here, because it's the first focal plane and because it zooms in, zooms out, it allows me to actually have both of these things in the same reticle. So I've got my wind holds here, and then down here below, off to the side, you know, I have the mill grid, so I got both my wind holds and the mill grid built in. So basically, that's why this is a $1,500 scope, because it gives you a lot more information. Let me try to get another zoom. Where am I? I think I'm still in the 8 power. Let's see if we can get another looky. It'd be a little hard to get that eye relief when you're behind the camera. Let's zoom out. All right, so now basically you see a duplex reticle. I see the horseshoe in the center. You know, basically that's going to function as a circle that you just put on target. That's how to focus on. But anyway, so I think that kind of, you know, again, the focus here is on this video is like trying to pick out the right distance scope for you. And a lot of times I find that people are quick to go to a you know, to a variable scope, right? But they don't really utilize it, or the scope itself doesn't have the features to make having that extra pound and a half, you know, worthwhile, right? Because with these scopes over here, I'm able to do my range estimation and my bullet drop, right? If I'm going to go to something bigger like this, I want more than just range estimation and bullet drop. I want to be able to range estimate off of other things besides people, and also I want to be able to you know, to compensate for wind. You know, whether it's a mill grid like this that I commit to the holds to value, or whether it's you know, something like this Raptor over here that has the you know, the preset wind hold. So anyway, I hope this information was useful to you guys. I've done numerous videos on all these scopes, covering them individually. But I kind of wanted to throw everything on the table, and just you know, help people figure out what would be the best scope for them for different uses. And again, for most of your applications, like your CQB type of stuff, home defense, this is going to probably be the best choice, right? Because with this thing over here, I can just pick it up. You know, you can see how quickly I can get behind that reticle. There's no eye relief issues, you know. So this setup over here is going to be the best choice for your you know, for your home defense situation, or if you're moving around, really, you know, this is going to be the best choice. This over here, if you expect to be shooting from, do some shooting between the 200 yards to 300 yards, maybe going out to 400 yards, right? And then over here, if you're going to be shooting 400 to 600 yards, where you really need to start worrying about the wind, right? And you need to do your wind holds and perhaps maybe do some range estimation off of other things besides humans. These are your scopes here. Sometimes people might say, why not just use a laser range estimator? Well, basically that basically tells everybody where you are. Anybody that has basically a, there's counter tools to help people figure out if they're being range estimated, if somebody's pointing a laser at them, right? And that can kind of give away your position. So you want to be able to range estimate visually, using a grid like this, or something like this. All right, so drop some comments below. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you all soon.